What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Give me one moment while I get it together. Give me one moment while I get it together. Okay. Okay, I think I'm good to go. Just, Hi, Colleen. So, I have this title here. My trainer said something to me that was extremely striking yesterday. About 5 years ago, actually, about 4 years ago, because this happened during the time when we were in the lockdown over here in New York, when the pandemic had just started, and we were ordered to stay in our house unless we had essential jobs. And at first they said it was 2 weeks while they do a deep cleaning, and then 2 weeks became a month became 2 months. We went all the way from about 6 to 7 months where everything was closed except for basically the liquor store and what else was open? Laundromat. I think even the banks were closed. Everything we had to do with banking was remote. Most things were closed. And so I was an avid gym goer, and the gym suddenly wasn't available. So I found myself in a spot where my motivation was gone because all the spaces that I went to get my exercise on were gone. I tried to work out in my house. I'm not an in-house workout person. So I gained a whole bunch of weight, and I was at the biggest weight of my life. I'm about 5'8", and I was 238 pounds. That is a lot for somebody my height. Even though I'm not somebody they tell me my BMI is, I should be between 130 and 155. That's not something that I can ever agree with. The last time I was anywhere in that range, I was probably like 16, 17. And I've been as low as 178 last year at this time. So at that point in time, I was very close to what I felt was a good, comfortable weight that I wanted to be on, and I was just working on chiseling out. So basically, I went through a depression when I lost my dad, and I gained about 20 of the pounds back. I'm no 238, but I'm definitely hovering between 195 to 198 pounds on any given week. So he saw me and he finally said to me, "Mark, what's going on?" And I said, I'm working towards taking it back down. And he's like, "Well, what is it going to take?" And I said, "I don't know at this moment." And he said, "Well, you knew when you came to me for sessions." And he said, "Let me remind you, when we did our initial intake, I asked you what your motivation was for getting yourself into the best shape of your life. And you said to me your motivation was your dad, and you said that your motivation was seeing the kind of condition that your dad is in at age, he was 68 or so at the time, and how now he was depending on people for everything. He was depending on someone to help him in the shower, to help him in the bathroom, put on his clothes, depending on someone to get his food for him, to feed him, all those things. And I feel like 68 is a pretty young age to have that type of experience. And then my dad has a history in his family of all of his siblings having strokes. So my motivation was like, I never want to be that person in that position where at that kind of an age, or any age really, that I need that kind of care. And I'm in a spot, hi Cass, and I'm in a spot where I need people to take care of me like that. And then the other part of the motivation was watching him every day fight for his life. He wasn't just fighting for fitness, he was fighting for his life and to maintain, to live as long as he could, and also to maintain whatever abilities he had left. He was actually working with my trainer. So I would go out, and sometimes I would be amazed when the trainer would get him to do 45 minutes on the elliptical, or he would get him to do all these exercises, standing on the chair, sitting on the chair. He had all of these hand exercises that he would do. He would do like wall push-ups, and it was just amazing to watch. And I would say if he could do that in his physical and mental state, I'm not in a position to really complain about what I'm doing. And that was highly motivating for me. So the trainer said to me, now your dad is gone. And he said, maybe in your subconscious, that is somewhat of a stimuli, but it's not something that you're actively seeing anymore. So it's not something that strongly motivates you anymore. And he said, I can say that because it has now been over a year. Hi, Prince. It has now been over a year since you've lost him. And in that year, you haven't had a sense of urgency to the fitness and the nutrition and everything that you were doing before. So that really hit me because it's the truth. I mean, when he was here and when I could see everything that he was doing to maintain what he had and how hard he was fighting to stay there with us, yes, that was a very motivating thing for me. And in his absence, the trainer was like, now you have to repurpose. Now you have to think about what is something actively and currently that can stimulate you to have that same kind of drive that you had in 2023. And I don't have an answer to that question. This was more of a thought-provoking live because it made me realize there's no one thing that can motivate you today that is going to motivate you in the same way for the rest of your life. Like, I can't find that thing right now today and then in 2057, if I'm still here, that thing still equally motivates me in 2057. Like, life is a process of discovery, rediscovery, especially when you throw loss into the equation, because your whole sense of purpose could be tied around something or someone who's actually here. Then all of a sudden they're not here. And if you don't intentionally repurpose yourself, you can find yourself in the type of spot that I'm in, where I'm okay. It's not like I'm drowning. It's not like I haven't been doing things. And if you look at my life on paper, I have a very active life. Possibly even more active than it was when he was here. Because now I'm not tied and bound to sitting at home and watching him and making sure he's taking his medications and helping him in and out of the bathroom, helping him change and helping him turn on the TV for him, speak to him. Like, arguably, on paper, I'm doing just fine, but that's on paper. On paper, anything can look any kind of way. That just means that I'm actively moving, that I actively have not stopped moving. In terms of moving purposefully, I have not done that. I won't say that I have not done that at all, but I'll say that I've done that very minimally. There's a couple of things that I'm doing now that have been purposeful and things that I have thought about, but for the most part, I'm just moving just to move, because I feel like if I stop, I'm going to stop and not be able to start again. It's like I'm outrunning a depression. Unless you have kids, kids motivate most people. I wouldn't say that's true. I would say, so in terms of the type of motivation that I'm talking about, I'm motivated. He even used this example when he was talking to me. I'm motivated right now to go to work, but I'm not motivated because I like what I'm doing or because I'm just enjoying it so much. It's like a forced motivation, because if I don't go to work, I don't have the money to satisfy the needs of my bills. So yeah, it is a type of extrinsic motivation, and kids are that too. You can be intrinsically motivated to take care of kids, but at the same time, I've been in positions of taking care of kids, and it's like a thing where what can you do? Just ignore them when they're like, I'm hungry, or if they run into a cupboard or something and they bang their knee and they're crying. Yeah, you could ignore them and just not do anything, or you could not put food on the table and watch them starve. But it's like an intrinsic motivation more than a sense of purpose. Shout out to the girl Colleen who told me about your secret life. Nice chest. It's a motivation of need. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, there's different types of motivation. If I'm walking in the park right now, if all of a sudden like some kind of wild animal started chasing me, I would run away. And it's not because I'm motivated to run. It's because I don't want the animal to eat me alive. So yeah, it is a type of motivation, but really what I'm talking about is recentering, discovering purpose. And that's something that I have yet to do, and that's something that I'm going to do as soon as I can. I don't like to say as soon as I can, because something that my dad always used to tell me, someday is not a day on the calendar, so it feels like an excuse. But when I say as soon as I can, I have things to do constantly, and I'm trying to get all those things done. But sooner rather than later, I am going to have to sit down and say to myself, these are my current sources of motivation. And motivation has to be things that require your senses. You gotta... That comment was held for review. That's funny. Just so you know, I didn't do that, but I'm glad it's in there. When all else fails, I say to myself, I want to be the hottest 60-year-old around. Yeah, so life just requires continuously checking in with yourself and continuously finding new sources. Like kids could be a sense of motivation, because imagine you live your life up to a certain point and you don't have any, and then all of a sudden you have one or two on the way, and before then, to keep it on the fitness, maybe before then you tried to find motivation to exercise and you found motivation to eat right. You couldn't find motivation to exercise and to eat right. And then all of a sudden you're like, I have a son or a daughter on the way, and I want to make sure that I can be present for them physically, mentally, for as long as I possibly can. And then all of a sudden you change your life around so that you can run around with your kids and you can be healthy instead of your kids have you for 20 years and then all of a sudden you get really sick, chronically ill, and they spend the rest of their lives wheeling you around on a wheelchair, getting you to doctor's appointments, and helping you put your clothes on, bathe, all those same things that I've been describing with my dad. Granted, I got to live 30 plus years before he got to that stage. I was already 34, 33, 32. I think I was 32 when he got to that point in time. So I had plenty of years where I didn't have to do that, but you see the point is that could be a source of the motivation too. But always look for those sources and always take the time to do self check-ins, because just because you're still moving does not mean that you're okay. You can be actively moving with a severe depression, because I have been in places where my depression literally sat me down in bed all day, not doing a thing, not eating, not sleeping well, and just not taking care of myself. I've been there. So because I haven't been in that particular spot for a number of years, it almost makes me forget that depression can rear its ugly head in multiple different ways. You could be functioning well with depression. You could be going to work every day. You could be taking care of your kids every day. You could be very active. You could be doing things in your community. You could be helping out friends and family. And you could still be going through a depression. Like for me, I know that all the things that I do are a type of avoidance in a way. As long as I'm still active, I don't have to think about it. So I just know that what I'm going to be doing going forward is that I'm going to take some time. I'm going to actually sit down. This is my me time. I'm going to take out my notebook. I'm going to actually borrow something in a way that I got from Shar, my old life coach, and apply it to something different. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down some of the old things that motivated me in the past year. Write them down on paper and then come up with some new sources of motivation for me right now. And the way my trainer phrased it was really good too. He said, you have a contract to show up to work every day. I have a friend that's totally into journaling. I'm not too into journaling, but I definitely see its benefits, and I try to commit to that as much as I can. I kept up with my daily routine when I was dealing with depression, probably for the same reason / mentality. So he told me, when you go to work, you sign a contract. The contract gives you stipulations. You have to do, these are your job responsibilities. This is the time you have to clock in. This is the time you have to clock out. This is the level of work that you have to maintain. If you don't do that, you can get written up. You can get docked pay. You can get fired. And he was like, when you wake up in the morning, you go to work, right? I was like, yeah. And you know what happens if you don't go to work and you don't have a time off balance and you don't do the things that you're supposed to do at work? you're going to lose a job or you're going to lose money. So he said, but you don't have a contract with yourself. He said, there's nothing that bounds you to following these stipulations that are set up for you when it comes to like a personal contract for what you're doing with your health. He said, what are the rewards for reaching your health goals? What are the consequences? What are the consequences for not committing to your schedule? And if there's none, it's just going to be, I'm going to do this whatever, because imagine whenever and whatever. Because imagine if your job was just like, you're not getting money. You're just coming here because of your desire to do the job. And what if they were like, there's no consequences if you don't do it? In my case, I probably just wouldn't even go. So that's really what happens to me with this kind of stuff. And I said to myself, maybe I should make a contract, whether it's a written contract or whether it is a verbal contract. Written contract is probably the best. Like some kind of written contract. I'm going to do this much on these days, and this is my reward for doing those things on those days. And in addition to just the contract part of it, finding a reason to even create the contract. Finding something that resonates with me, where I say to myself, I'm going to feel this certain type of good way if I stick to this commitment. And this is my reason behind keeping going. And it was good to get that reminder. It was hard at the same time, because it's hard to think about that, because I've been avoiding thinking about my dad's death despite the fact that I've been talking about it. It's not like I have not spoken about it. I've spoken about it plenty. But speaking about it on here or speaking about it to friends, family, whoever, is not the same as doing introspective thinking and being like, what does this loss mean for me? And where do I go from here? That's a thing that I have not really, I've asked myself that, but I haven't sat down and tried to figure out an answer and done like the appropriate amount of soul searching to figure out an answer to that question. What time is it? 3:51, so I'm about off of this thing soon. I've been known to journal extensive swear words during the Amazing Race. What do you journal about during those times? You journal about the show, or you just multitask? My notes app is my journal. Discord could never be my journal. I'd be venting and I'd want people to care. And Cass would comment something disregarding my whole feelings. That sounds familiar. I don't know Ricky or Caesar. Anyways, so yeah, to summarize what I was saying, purpose and motivation are not something that you figure out one time and they last you throughout the duration of your life. We have different phases in our lives. There could be one phase where your parents are the sun and the moon, and then you don't have them anymore. There could be a phase where you're working at this one particular job that is the best job of your life, and then the job goes bankrupt, or you get fired from the job. You don't have that anymore. There could be a time in your life where somebody who's a big inspiration to you and that person have some kind of falling out, or they let you down. And all of a sudden, you're sitting here and you're like, this big thing that I had that motivated me at this time is no longer there. And if you don't intentionally try to figure out what's going to be your next source, then you'll end up in a spot where you're just drifting and coasting. And that's going to bring you further away from your goals. And it could be a slow thing. That's what happened to me. This is a slow burn. I didn't gain a whole 20 pounds at one time. It was like I was doing a little bit less activity than before, and a little bit less, and a little bit less. And then all of a sudden, oh, this pair of pants that was fitting perfectly is now a little too tight. I can't button up this shirt quite the way that I used to before. And then I step on the scale, and I'm like, goodness, where did this 20 pounds come from? So it's okay to actually take the time and say, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know where my motivation is going to come from, but I'm taking the time to do some introspective thinking, soul searching, and figure it out. And then when you get to that, hold on to it for as long as you can. Use it to push you forward. And then when that one runs out, redo the process. It's just like when you take out the trash. When you take out the trash, it's not like you take out the trash once. When you do your laundry, it's not like you finish your one load of laundry or however many loads of laundry you have to do, and then your clothes are clean forever. Just know that life is a marathon and not a sprint. You have to figure things out, then you have to refigure them out. You find that route, then you have to reroute a whole bunch of times, and that's just the nature of life. So I hope everybody has an amazing day. I have 7,000 more steps to do, but I don't have the opportunity to do them right now. I'm going to get them in later because it's very nice outside. So I tend to assume that when I have time again, which will probably be in about 2 hours, I can come back out here and finish the rest. And I hope everyone has an amazing day. Today is Wednesday, so I have a couple of shows that I'm hopefully going to be able to watch. If not, I'll catch them on Thursday. I caught the challenge, so I might end up doing a recap later on my other channel, or like a brief recap on my other channel. Survivor's coming on, and I think the Big Brother Canada finale is coming on tonight, so I think I'm probably going to watch that over Survivor, since Survivor is not the finale. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. Thank y'all.